Yesterday we had a workshop which we did together with Anton. This is the second time we do the same workshop and the previous time we also did it at HackConf. So we're kind of keeping up with this team to support the conference with workshop and trying to teach all the participants something new, something they didn't know before. I think the coolest part for me was we had two boys which are still in school at the workshop. I think the youngest one is around 15 years old, so that's cool.
Hi, my name's Eddie and I'm here at HackConf 2019 in Sofia, Bulgaria. And it's been an amazing day. It's still early on, but a wonderful day. People have been so welcoming, all keen to talk and share what they've learned, what they want to learn this weekend. The venue is massive. It's really spacious. It's really clean. So it's been a really good event. Everyone's been really friendly. They've really enjoyed the event. And they've made a real big effort to have gluten-free snacks, to cater for everyone's needs. I highly recommend coming to this conference. We've still got another day and a half to go. We're the Dashboard Hub team are really excited to talk to more people, see how it's gone, and hear how everyone's enjoyed the event. So hi, my name's Eddie and I'm here at HackConf 2019 in Sofia in Bulgaria. And I have Alex and Anton from KiwiTCMS with me, and we met in Fosdem earlier this year in 2019. But I'm going to let them reintroduce themselves and talk a bit more about their product. So please go first.
Well, okay, thank you. So my name is Alex. I am the project lead for KiwiTCMS. This is an open source test case management platform, and we have been around for quite a long time. The current team is not the original one. We kind of adopted this open source project, we forked it. We started building the community from scratch. We started building the core team from scratch. And next to me I have Anton, who is one of the very first developers to join and one of the few developers that is still with us for a very, very long time.
I'm Anton. I joined KiwiTCMS team like nearly 2 years ago. When I joined, I had little programming experience, just a few months of it. So I went through the onboarding, programming courses, and so on. And I've been with the team ever since.
And what sort of technologies, what is KiwiTCMS and what sort of technologies do you use?
Okay, very good question. Test case management systems are a specific type of software. It is a subdomain of what we call application lifecycle management systems, which are used only by quality assurance professionals, test managers. This is a place where you keep information about your test plans, your test cases, you keep results of test executions, pass, fail, and so on. So this is not usually something that you see in a regular day-to-day development job, but if you do testing, you will work with similar systems pretty much all the time. It's a web-based application built with Python and Django on the back end. Right now we use the latest versions of these technologies. Wasn't always the case. We do have a little bit of JavaScript on the front end, of course, to make it look shiny and prettier.
So we met in Fosdem and you had a stand there, and I think, did you give a talk at Fosdem?
I gave a talk in the Python dev room at Fosdem, and I also gave a quick lightning talk at the Lightning Talks room in Fosdem. That was to celebrate the 10th year anniversary of the project back then.
And here you had a workshop yesterday on Friday, is that correct?
Yes, so yesterday we had a workshop which we did together with Anton. This is the second time we do the same workshop and the previous time we also did it at HackConf. So we're kind of keeping up with this team to support the conference with workshop and trying to teach all the participants something new, something they didn't know before.
Tell me more about the workshop. The workshop was what, 3 hours long? And you teach them in Python, and what sort of topics did you cover in Python, like hello world, what else did you do?
So the workshop was 3 hours long, and this was supposed to be about Python and Selenium, but unfortunately we did not go to the Selenium part, just because the expertise of the people, the attendees were different, and we had to start from scratch basically, teach them what a variable is, what a for loop is, and we only got as far as the Python part.
I think the coolest part for me was we had two boys which are still in school at the workshop. I think the youngest one is around 15 years old, so that's cool.
I think it's really good, absolutely. I've seen more recently more younger generation coming to these events, or parents bring, like you brought your daughter, I think that's awesome.
Yes.
I think that's brilliant, right? When I have friends who have kids, and okay, Andrew's probably watching this, he has 4 kids and he doesn't bring them with him to events, but he still makes sure he goes to events. I have other friends who have a kid and they go, I can't come, I've got my kid. I say, well, bring a kid with you. Oh, is that allowed? The kid's not an alien, right? We were all kids once. So I think it's great. When I have a kid, they're coming with me to every conference.
Yes, yes.
I agree with Alex that it's important not to push the children too far. I have a sister which is 15, and she's kind of still not oriented what she wants to do. I try to not push her too hard because she's kind of in the middle of choosing, and I don't want to influence a decision which you later regret because you choose because of me. So it's important that she gets to this decision alone.
Of course, I think it's good to show them the opportunity and what it is, and then they've got to make the decision themselves, absolutely. So HackConf, so did you say it's your second time at HackConf, third?
It's the second time we do a workshop, but honestly, we've always been here. We are friends with HackConf organizers. We've always supported them. In the previous editions, I was also a speaker once. I had the opportunity to be a speaker on the big stage also once. But now we are more focused on our own open source project, focus on our team, so it's just not the place for us to step up on stage right now. We still try to support HackConf, like they support us by giving us the platform to present the open source project, and we are actually the only open source project right here today. So yeah.
Dashboard Hub,
oh,
Dashboard
yes.
Hub, not as mature as yours, but we're supporting and we're open source.
Okay, my bad.
No problem, I forgive
apologize.
you. Don't you remember, we were in the stand next to you at FOSDEM, next to you.
Yes, well, yes, the thing is, when you don't have a table, you kind of tend to forget.
True. We brought so much camera equipment, we didn't have space to bring a pull-up poster. And even at the airport, she was saying, you've got too much weight. And I was like, I need to take this, I cannot leave it behind. And next year when we come, hopefully we'll be invited back. I want to bring more cameras.
Oh
because you've got so much space, right? You can even have another camera over there, one far back over there, one up top. You know, make it a bit more interesting. I love the event. I mean, everyone is so friendly. Thank you so much, by the way, for introducing us to HackConf. So what other events do you have coming up?
Right up on Monday, I have to leave for Vilnius. We have TestCon Europe for Vilnius, and then from Vilnius, leave right away for Poland for another testing event. Wow. And then when I come back, we have the biggest open source conference here in Sofia again, in even bigger venue. And Anton has been responsible for all the local events in Bulgaria, starting from this year. And I've been focusing more on events which were abroad.
You have a lot of events, this is amazing.
Yes, then we have the Christmas holidays where we will take a deserved break, and then we have FOSDEM coming up, as you know. So this year I have a news to make. Together we are hosting the testing and automation dev room, which was missing from the conference last year. So we sent a submission, it is approved. We're going to be the dev room moderators together with two more folks from SUSE and Linaro.
That's amazing. So let me hear a bit more about that. So I want to talk more about the other conferences coming up. But before I forget about the dev rooms, you have a dev room for the entire day.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
And then you will do what, the workshop 3 or 4 times, or
No.
How does it work?
So dev room is a dedicated space where people can present on the same topic. So it can be kernel development, it can be Python development, and in our case, it is testing and automation. So as dev room managers, our job is to submit and publish the call for papers, which we already did a few days ago. So this is open until December the 10th this year. Anything that has to do with testing and open source, you can submit call for paper for FOSDEM 2020. Then our job is to review all the submissions and select the best topics which fit the particular dev room. And on the day of the event, we need to help the speakers get set up, be mindful of the time, be mindful of the participants, be mindful of how many free spaces there are in the room, because there's always much more people wanting to get inside than are actually seats available. So this is going to be our job. And because our own project is in the domain of software quality assurance testing, this is just one another way how we support the testing in the open source communities by being able to host this dev room. And the reason for that is I've been going to FOSDEM for a long time, and when testing and automation dev room started to become a thing, initially it wasn't that interesting, but over the course of several years, it became very popular. It was full all the time with amazing speakers. And last year, suddenly, there was no dev room. And the thing that I hear is, previous dev room managers, they couldn't make it, they were busy, there was nobody to help them to do this. So that's why we didn't have the dev room. And this year we decided, let's extend a hand, let's try to help.
I mean, that's perfect, that's great. I was speaking to Andrew, who I think you met at FOSDEM. He was on my stand with me. And we were talking about doing the pipeline part and maybe giving different talks on different parts. So, the setting up CI, the automated testing, and doing the CD and all the rest. So we might be submitting a Cyprus talk to your dev room. That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. It's also on topic.
Sounds good. To Andrew, if you're watching, we mustn't forget. and we can bribe
Yes,
Alex.
testing and automation FOSDEM 2020.
Now that sounds really good. And so you also mentioned the biggest open source conference in Bulgaria. What's that called?
Well, this is called OpenFest, and I think Anton should tell you about this because he's been doing OpenFest and he's been doing the KiwiTCMS stand at OpenFest since last year.
And I think Raina, your colleague speaking to her yesterday, who was here yesterday for your workshop, I think.
Yes.
But she
yes.
flew yesterday evening to Germany, to Berlin, for women who code front end.
Yes.
So she mentioned this briefly, sent me a link. I haven't had a chance to look at it. So it'd be really good if you can tell us more about it.
So as Alex mentioned, OpenFest is the biggest open source conference in Bulgaria. It's been around for, I don't know, like 10 or more than 10 years.
Wow, okay.
So we basically are really community friendly. There are many open source projects. We had booths there. We had a booth last year, and it was we really liked it. It was maybe one of the first big conferences that we had booth. The people were interested. We talked to a lot of people who were willing to contribute and to use Kiwi.
That sounds good. And are there talks as well, or is it a bit like FOSDEM? How does it work?
Well, it's similar to FOSDEM. There are, I think, a few tracks of talks which go in parallel. There were workshops in the last few years. There's even like soldering workshop, how do you call this, lockpicking workshop for people,
Awesome.
all this hacking stuff that goes around in the open source community. We have not been speaking that much at OpenFest lately. I know Anton did his first ever public presentation last year. He was a short lightning talk. But yeah, that was his first experience
cool.
at a big event.
And how did it go?
It went well.
You
I got
enjoyed
good
it?
feedback. Yes, I definitely enjoyed it.
I think it's the most important, but I think like with anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it, then the more you start to enjoy it. A bit like me with my YouTube or my open source contributions, the more I do it, the better I get, the more I enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So do it again. When's your next talk?
Yes, an interesting fact to mention to the audience is that the team who organizes OpenFest here in Sofia is actually the video team supporting FOSDEM. And if you've ever been to FOSDEM, you'll notice that they have these wooden boxes, which are their video recorders. Yes. This is made here in Bulgaria and is actually open source as well.
That's amazing. I did not know that. So when we're in FOSDEM in February, Andrew and me are going to book an any day now. I will make sure to get some photos and some B-roll and some slow-mo footage of those boxes because we have seen them.
Yes.
And they look really custom and we're like, wow. And the amount of footage they need to take from like however many tracks
and they are made here and they are shipped from here specifically to Brussels for FOSDEM.
Nice. Okay. That's very cool. Very, very cool. So you mentioned upcoming events. So you mentioned OpenFest coming up, and we mentioned FOSDEM, Christmas downtime. What else have you got planned, and what other talks are you giving?
Oh, okay, let's reveal the secret. We are thinking about going to Asia next year with Anton.
So are we. Where are you thinking of going?
So first we have FOSS Asia, and then after 10 days or something like that, after that we have a big open source testing conference in China, in Beijing. So we have OpenTestCon, and before that is FOSS Asia. We still have not decided whether we want to do this, but probably we will.
FOSS Asia, is that like kind of FOSDEM, but FOSS Asia?
Yes, it's something like that.
Okay, and whereabouts in Asia is it?
I think this is in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken.
There's lots of events happening over there now, which is quite interesting.
Yes, we have never been to that part of the world, so we would like to explore, to get some exposure as a project, some exposure as speakers as well. On the other hand, we would like to bring in some people back to Europe, back to Eastern Europe especially, to get get the mixture going on, get the people contributing to one another.
So we love it there. Well, we haven't done China, we haven't done Singapore, and we were actually talking only yesterday about maybe we should go to more conferences but I didn't know about FOSS Asia. The only one I know is of Slush in Tokyo, but I think it's more like Web Summit, where it's a bit more commercial, it's a bit more looking for, not sponsorship, what's the word, investment, and less technical. They are great to go to those as well because the talks are more higher level and you get Uber announcing they're flying helicopters and all the rest, and it's really interesting, but it's not technical like HackConf and FOSDEM and so forth.
Yeah, another thing that has been going on around in my head for a while now is we did spend a lot of time traveling here on the Balkans. We did have good traction with some countries, some communities. We have good adoption of our tool and contributors from Albania, from Slovenia. We have 100% Slovenian translation, 100% Albanian translation. We had a sprint last week in Belgrade, and at the same time we had a similar sprint in Tirana. And what's been going on in my head is we should start focusing more on the local communities and try to be more supportive to them compared to people who are far away from us. Distances here are relatively small. It takes you half a day, 1 day driving pretty much to everywhere.
Really?
And Sofia
Okay.
being in the center pretty much of the Balkans, it just makes for a good hub for us to travel and to meet with different communities. Before that, I met with some friends on a testing conference in Bucharest. Then a couple of days later, we were at Testival, which is the testing meetup in Zagreb. In Croatia, then we were in Belgrade, where we met with our common friend Jona.
I think the events you're doing, it's so amazing how many you do and you're so passionate about it. I think it's really interesting. You mentioned Albania. There is an event there, I think, that a common friend of ours recommended.
Yes, there is Oskal, open source
That's the
conference.
one, Oskal,
Albania.
that's the one, yes.
It probably is no surprise for you that we have already been there twice.
I really want to. I couldn't make it this year, but I really want to go next year.
Yeah, definitely recommend for
Do you
next year.
recommend
Yes,
it? Okay.
yes. And also Albania is a lovely country. They held the event in the spring, so middle of May usually. Lovely weather, very hospitable people.
So, last question, I promise, Sarah. What is the next step for KiwiTCMS, and where would you like to be in 3 years or 5 years?
Oh, okay. Let's both of us answer how we see the project. My desire for KiwiTCMS has always been to become the leading open source system in our space. And we are slowly going in this direction. We are working very hard to achieve this. We have our technical goals and we are following them very closely. I would also love to see the project becoming self-sustainable in terms of financial contributions or business model. This is something that we have been struggling with, but also, to be honest, we haven't been paying a lot of attention to that part of the project. And this is only our fault. We just try to focus more on the technical side. My vision, my dream is to just build a very strong open source team and to show that this is possible to do here in Bulgaria and to show others the way. Like, this is open source, this is how we do it.
I think that's really, really important. Open source is massive, and I think people need to be aware that it's not just in certain countries that, I don't know, are claimed to be the better country, right? It's happening everywhere. I met someone at Web Engineering in Palma at an unconference, which I recommend you both attend next year. It's a different discussion.
People, come to the unconference on Mallorca!
Web Engineering 2019, but come join us in 2020. But he's from Germany, and he actually moved to Vietnam, and he ended up building a team there and flying between Germany and Vietnam. And now he's got a team in Vietnam of over 200 technical people, from testers and developers and so forth. And he's got an amazing business model, and he's the technical person, but he's the conduit between the two. And I think people never thought of kind of Vietnam as a technical hub, but how many, over I think 1,300 people are at the event here today who are in the tech space, testing, developing, documentation. I mean, there's so much to it that I think people need to open their eyes a bit, that it's not just what's in front of them. They can get so many more, they can run so much faster by being more inclusive with the rest of the world. So I think that's a great point. Thank you very much. I think we'll call it, anything else you want to add, or we call it, you want to add something?
Well, it's about the project. Basically, everything Alex said, and also I want to build a bigger team, be more people, also build a community around that, where you know that everyone is welcome to contribute, and you have someone to mentor the people who are new and are just joining the project.
I recommend you doing some live streaming, doing some contributions, and other people can kind of learn and follow along. Highly recommend that. And so if people watching, if they want to get involved, what's a good area? What's the area, I guess, a good area for them to get involved in, or what's an area you say are a bit lacking in resources?
Well, we do have a few areas which are lacking in resources. We've got a blog post describing this in more technical detail on the website, but I would say if you want to get into contributing to KiwiTCMS, the best thing to do is just ping us online. We have an email on the website. We are very easy to find online, all of us. And we do have a training program, actually. Even if you have zero technical skills, we can teach you everything that you need to know. We can assign you a mentor and start just giving you tasks one by one, small bite chunks, so you can start sharpening your skills, start contributing, learning everything that there needs to be learned. So this is what we try to do. We try to perfect our own system of how we get people on board. Anton has been through this system. He knows what I'm talking about. Everybody else on the team has been through the same system, through the same type of training, through the same type of onboarding process. And we're always trying to adjust this based on the the feedback that we get from people, how fast they advance or if they don't advance and so on.
I love this. I need to reiterate this. Sarah's giving me evils because I know the clock's ticking. But so if people want to get involved in KiwiTCMS, an open source project written in Python with Django and JavaScript, you don't even have to have experience in those technologies or in the testing or development space. The KiwiTCMS team have a mentoring program. You called it an onboarding
process.
Program. And Anton himself took it, and every time people get on board, every time people take this process, they're improving it and perfecting it. So I highly recommend, if you want to get into tech and into open source, which I cannot recommend enough, have a look at their website. They've got a blog post on the areas they're missing and on their onboarding. So I think that's really important. I wish more open source projects did that. Maybe it's something that Dashboard Hub needs to look into doing as well. We're not as big as you, we're not as mature as you, but we can start doing something similar. Awesome, thank you. That was a gem for me. That was perfect. We have our friend here.
Yes, this is the boss.
This is the boss.